He stood at the center of the most explosive trial in human history, a man whose decisions didn't just shape a nation, they altered the course of eternity itself. He made political moves, religious judgments, and with absolute certainty, he believed that executing one man on a cross would solve everything once and for all, but it didn't. Because after that Sunday morning, after the tomb was found empty, after the silence of death was shattered, Caiaphas was still there, and almost no one ever asks what happened next, what really went on behind the walls of power, inside the temple. After history refused to stay buried, very few people know how the story of the man who condemned Jesus actually ended. Joseph, known to history as Caiaphas, wasn't just another priest performing rituals. He was the high priest of Israel, the highest religious authority, one of the richest, most powerful, politically dangerous figures in all of first-century Judea. This was the man allowed to enter the Holy of Holies, the man who negotiated directly with the Roman Empire, the man who held together a fragile system, balancing faith, fear, and force. For nearly 2 decades, he controlled everything: religion, politics, money, power, and it was him who presided over that late-night trial, manipulating laws, breaking traditions, declaring coldly, "It is better for one man to die than for the whole nation to perish." He saw Jesus bound. He sent him to Pilate. He watched the execution unfold, and when Jesus was nailed to that cross outside the city walls, for Caiaphas, the case was closed, finished, over. But the moment that stone rolled away, everything changed. Because what followed wasn't victory, it was the beginning of his worst nightmare. The Bible focuses on the apostles and the growth of the early church. But when you dig deeper, when you cross-reference historical accounts, you uncover something chilling: a powerful leader watching his perfect plan collapse in real time. Today, we step into those hidden layers. We step into the shadows of history to uncover what really happened to the man who tried to silence God himself, and what price he ultimately paid. Before we go further, take a second, like the video, subscribe, and drop your city and country in the comments. Now, let's step inside the mind of Caiaphas. To understand his downfall, you first need to understand who he really was. Caiaphas wasn't just religious. He was a strategist, a political mastermind. Appointed by Roman authority, he held power for 18 years. In a system where leaders were replaced constantly, that tells you everything. He knew how to play both sides, Rome and his own people. He controlled the temple economy system worth millions. He belonged to the Sadducees, an elite class that rejected resurrection, angels, and anything spiritual beyond the material world. To him, power wasn't eternal. Power was now. Money, influence, control. That was his religion. Then Jesus arrived. At first, just another preacher, but quickly, everything changed. Jesus wasn't just teaching, he was disrupting, healing on the Sabbath, challenging authority, drawing massive crowds. And then he walked into the temple, Caiaphas's territory, and flipped the tables, shut down the economy, and called it what it was: a den of thieves. That wasn't just an insult, that was war. To Caiaphas, Jesus wasn't a prophet, he was a threat, a political risk. Because if those crowds turned into a rebellion, Rome would respond with blood, and Caiaphas would lose everything. So he made a decision: cold, calculated, final. One man must die. The trial was illegal, rushed, corrupt, false witnesses, broken laws, desperation. And when nothing worked, Caiaphas forced the moment. "Are you the Son of God?" And when Jesus answered, Caiaphas didn't see truth. He saw opportunity. He tore his robes, declared blasphemy, and demanded death. Friday ended with relief. Jesus was dead. The followers were gone. No rebellion. No chaos. Everything was under control. Saturday was silence, victory, confidence. But underneath that confidence, there was fear. Because Caiaphas knew something. Jesus had said he would rise again. He didn't believe it, but he feared something else: a staged resurrection, a political lie. So he made a move, a mistake. He secured the tomb, sealed it, placed Roman guards, maximum security. What he didn't realize, he just created witnesses to the greatest moment in history. Then Sunday morning arrived. The guards didn't report to the disciples, they reported to Caiaphas, terrified, shaking, describing something impossible: an earthquake, a blinding light, the stone gone, the tomb empty. In that moment, power collapsed, control shattered, and for the first time in years, Caiaphas felt fear, real fear, and from that moment on, everything spiraled. The resurrection spread. Rumors turned into testimonies. Witnesses multiplied. People claimed they saw him, touched him, hid with him. And Caiaphas could do nothing. He couldn't arrest a ghost. He couldn't kill someone already dead. But the real problem was the followers. They weren't afraid anymore. The same men who were now stood boldly, preaching, healing, defying authority. Right in the temple, Peter, the man who once denied Jesus, now stood in front of Caiaphas and said, "The man you crucified is alive." That's when Caiaphas realized this wasn't ending, it was spreading. So he tried everything: silence, threats, violence, beatings, even death. Stephen was killed, a warning, but instead of stopping the movement, it multiplied. Because persecution didn't kill the message, it spread it. And then the final blow came, not from rebellion, not from divine fire, but from Rome. In 36 AD, Caiaphas was removed, stripped of power, replaced, forgotten. No speeches, no legacy, no glory, just silence. Until 1990, an ancient tomb was discovered. Inside, a bone box, with a name carved into it: Joseph, son of Caiaphas. The man who tried to seal a tomb forever ended up in one. And the man he tried to bury still changed the world. And that is the real story, not just of Caiaphas, but of choice, truth, and what happens when you see it and still reject it. Because being close to truth doesn't mean you accept it. And that same question still stands today. What will you do with it? If this opened your perspective, like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this.